Hello everybody, we're going to be doing this video. Lady Legs sent it to me, and with me I have the lovely Amy.
Hi, lovely Karen.
Yeah, I've nabbed Amy. You're helping me. Yeah, we've been just listening to, well, it says here, Join the Future of Journalism, and we're going to talk about this a bit later on, but I really liked it until you started talking about the bit at the end. But we'll get to that bit in a minute. But some of the things he's going to say in a minute. What did you think, Amy? About Rushak and calling him an oligarch.
Oh, yeah.
Explain what that
Mean,
is. Explain what that is.
well,
An oligarch. What is it again?
oligarch,
Yeah,
or
that sounds like a
there's,
good name, doesn't it? Oligarch.
yeah. Oligarchy is a small group of people having control of a country, organization, or institution. So, for example, a country governed by an oligarchy, the English aristocratic oligarchy of the 19th century is an example. So I
He's
guess
kind
that's
of
what.
got, when he's talking, he's kind of got nearly everything right, talking about how rich the Prime Minister and his wife are in their own, why are they looking after the people? And then he explains later on that you either go with the businesses or the people, but we'll get to that bit later on. And I like a lot of what he says. So,
Yes.
but I mean, we know that prime ministers are not elected, they're selected. So stuffing one or two in and all that, that's part of their game.
That's right.
So,
And
they're not really oligarchs because they're only in the game, playing the game, doing what they're whatever told to do.
yeah, so somebody else is probably behind them. They're the oligarch, and then they put in the prime minister as their puppet, I think.
Yeah. Well, should we hear what he says for a bit and then we'll come back and talk in a minute, Amy?
Oh, yes, Karen.
Okay, thank you, my darling.
You're welcome.
What a historic moment. Rishi Sunak, the first ever oligarch Prime Minister, elected by the... Oh, hang on a moment. We didn't. He was just appointed. Again, we've had a Prime Minister foisted on us whom not a single one of the supposed electorate chose. And not just any Prime Minister, an oligarch, the richest man in the House of Commons by a very long way. And it's very clear from everything he has done in politics and out of politics where his loyalties lie. They lie with oligarchs like himself. He is the oligarch's oligarch. Two sources of Sunak's money. One of them is the hedge funds. One he set up is based in the Cayman Islands, a notorious tax haven, part of whose business is channeling money away from the very budget that he was in charge of. The other source is the vast amount of money that his wife acquired as a result of being the daughter of an Indian tech billionaire, and together their fortune is valued at £730 million. Twice that of King Charles's. His wife, Akshata Murthy, benefited from the non-domiciled laws. Even though she was living in this country, she was able to avoid, on some estimates, £20 million of tax. That's £20 million that could have gone into public services. And all that happened while he was Chancellor of the Exchequer. We could see this as the consummation of the plutocratic capture of our politics. This man, worth £730 million, is now telling the poor how they should live, informing them with great regret, unfortunately we can't find any more money for you. You're going to have to suffer real terms cuts. You might not be able to afford the rent, you might not be able to afford the bills, you might not be able to afford to eat, but we're going to cut the miserable stipend you're entitled to even further, in pursuit of our grand programme of enriching people like myself even more than we have already been enriched. That's the message that our new Prime Minister is giving to the rest of the nation, that we can't support public services in such a desperate state that, according to head teachers, 90% of schools in England will, by next year, be in the red. They will have run out of money. The National Health Service itself is falling apart. Emergency services are collapsing. GP services are collapsing. The waiting times for operations, even people with cancer whose cancers are spreading, have been growing longer and longer. Doctors and nurses have been leaving the service in droves. There are simply not enough people, not enough beds to support the needs of patients. And that is the result of 12 years of Conservative austerity on top of the absolute catastrophe of New Labour's private finance initiative, which is still sucking money out of the service in interest payments to private corporations. You put all that together, and you see that our essential public services have already been cut not just to the bone but into the bone, that they are not coping, they are falling apart. And now Sunak wants to inflict billions of pounds more cuts on those services. Austerity is not a necessity. Austerity is a choice. It could be entirely avoided.
Do you get the same feeling like me, Amy? It's like we're sleepwalking. It's like, oh, now everything's gone to the dogs. You can't do this, they can't get that, the schools don't have enough of this, the hospitals, no. It's like, oh my God. And then, I don't think they're incorporating it, how many people left when this whole thing happened a few years ago. But they've done this on purpose, haven't they? Or maybe that's why we always felt it didn't go the way that they wanted it to. Maybe they didn't realise the staff would rebel.
That's true.
Never thought
Yeah.
about that. But, how could it be that we're on our knees? We're on our knees, everybody. Well, we felt like that for a really long time. So they've covered it up for a while.
I know. I think they just keep us distracted. Everybody has to pay their bills and go to work and make
Nice
money.
little robots, nice little robots.
like little robots. So
Oh.
we don't have time to think about how things are or why they're the way
Do you
they
know what
are.
we need to do? Say, I am statute.
Yes, that's right. That was in your hangout with
You know
Alan.
what? If we did get that into T-shirts and people wore it, they would know.
They would
We
know.
wouldn't have to say anything because thousands and thousands of people have it on the front of their chest. I mean, it is a good gimmick, isn't it?
Yes.
Meaning we don't. What that would mean is we don't believe in your law anymore.
Right.
And the thing is, in here he talks about being citizens. You don't want to be a citizen. A citizen is in the corporation. And he has, even though he's gone quite deep in this video, he's not gone deep enough. Because we don't want to be a citizen in the Roman Empire. We don't want it.
Yeah, he only scratched the surface. He hasn't gone very deep into everything, down into the rabbit hole of everything, but we're really in.
I mean, it might sound like we're having a go at him. There's just a few differences here.
Yeah.
I liked a lot of what he said because
Yeah.
it's someone else saying that we only have democracy as a word, and how everything is crumbling and changing. At least he said that, but he still wants to be in the system, and I don't. Well, not that system anyway.
Me too, I agree.
They're vampires, Amy. They are vampires.
They are.
But shall we listen to the next bit of his video now?
Yes, Karen.
We are swimming in wealth in this country. There is a massive surfeit of wealth, but it is highly concentrated in the hands of people like Rishi Sunak and his chums. The very rich, the ultra-rich, the oligarchs. Tax just a small amount of that tremendous wealth, and there'd be no need for any cuts at all. In fact, we could massively reinvest in public services. So there's a straightforward choice here. You either take a bit of money away from the ultra-rich, or you take everything away from the poor. And Sunak has left us in no doubt about which decision he has made. Over the past 12 years, we've had a succession of disastrous prime ministers. David Cameron, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, and now Rishi Sunak. They're all among the very last people you would want running this country, the worst possible people at the worst possible time. All of them are committed to the very rich and committed against the very poor. All of them seem determined to drain public services of money and put that money into the pockets of those who need it least the richest people of all. Now, you might have imagined, with the massive, humiliating collapse of Liz Truss's premiership, that whole neoliberal agenda would be finished, and so you would hope. But there's another reading of it, which is that, well, the markets didn't accept her proposals, so we must pay even greater homage to the markets than before. We must ensure that nothing any politician does interferes with what the markets want. We must bow down before finance and give it everything it demands.
I really quite like a lot of what he said. A lot of what he's saying is absolutely correct, but only if you want to engage in their system. And in it, he does say we need to revamp, we need to go through this, we need to change things, we need to get rid of things, we need to give the power back to the people. But in that system, so we would still have the same system, and I don't want it.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't know what you put in its place right now, but they are evil. And the really crazy bit is, I'm not quite sure where it is in this video and if it comes up, but just remember what he says. He says that the corporations have bought the government, and so the government has to curtail to what they want. So he says, you either choose the poor people or you choose the rich corporations. You can't have it both ways. And he would like politics to change, but he hasn't realised that if the corporations have got the people round the throat and constantly taking their money and making the corporations richer, why would you want to follow that?
Right. It's never going to go back to the people, any power that they're supposed to.
But he's just spent minutes saying the national health is going down, that's going down, it's all going down. The schools won't have say will be in the red next year. Nobody's got any money. He's got loads of money, but his wife doesn't pay taxes. And it goes on like that. But he thinks we've got a democracy, but he does say only in name. That's what it looks like. We've kind of got things in place, but they're not working. But we don't have a democracy. This is not democracy. This is turning into totalitarianism, while they're basically making... It's like we're going into a third world country overnight.
Oh, I know. It's really a shame that they're saying there's no money for anything.
Yeah, but they would say that, wouldn't they, when there is?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I know.
There's always money. There always is.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really hard for the people to be living that way. And I think it's true. It's the corporations, they run everything. So they're always the ones that will control everything. I don't know when the last time was that the people actually had any power. Probably, maybe never.
Thing is, he's talking about changing everything in the system. I mean, I was probably, that's where you get to. But he hasn't realised that we need to get rid of the system. It ain't going to work. And whoever you put in, it's still going to be the same. And one of them's going to get more. Well, they're just going to get greedier the bigger they get. And it's just ridiculous to think that we are run by these corporations. So we buy all the goods from, like Amazon. We're buying from them left, right and centre. And basically what they're doing is SHITTING in your face.
Oh, yes, it's really sad. And people really do like all these businesses like Amazon and everything, but they're the ones that are, have all the power, and they control a lot of things.
What they don't realise is, and I realised it ages ago, it's when we were doing Michael Hutchinson, and I remember we saw Bob Geldof in him, which that was really bizarre. But they had this conversation with Bob Geldof, and it was all his little businesses he'd got, and I thought, that's it, they've all got little corporations. That's what they get given. So Sir Anthony, whatever it is, when you're knighted, now you get a little corporation. Well done, you've done so good for the empire. Yeah, these people, including Rishi, all of them, maybe not the guy talking, but nearly all of them, including the Labour leader, will all have their businesses. They get given these businesses.
Yes. Yeah, so it's really, I don't know what the people can do about it. I still can't get over how America is a corporation when we thought we were an independent country,
So
but
are
we're
we,
actually
Amy.
incorporated.
We're a corporation as well. The Queen did
Yeah,
it. So it happened for you in the 4th of July, Independence Day is your corporation. And when the Queen
yes,
got crowned, that was our corporation. And do
yeah,
you know what? I so want to swear, but we're on YouTube. They were gaining land in the Second World War. So the Queen, her rule changed everything, changed things.
yeah, it did.
But anyway,
And
this guy, he likes the system and he's trying to change things in the system. That George, I'm just putting on the top, George, that we need to get rid of the whole thing and
yeah,
start again. I don't know what we do, but we need to have trusting people who are not going to use us. Where it's got to right now, this is disgusting, and we're being treated. Well, that hangout with Claudio yesterday, he said, why is it affecting your life, sister? I mean, I actually worry about what the people are going to think and do. That's my
yeah,
fear. Because if they
right.
buy into it, we need them not to buy into things. And it's like, oh, God, here we go, the next round. And, I said national health, and he's talked about it. So it will be brought up, Amy. It will be one of the topics soon. But I just think we have to get rid of all of them somehow.
Yeah, more people keep voting and everything in the system. It's just going to perpetuate it.
Yeah, Claudio says, if they're not, no, they're not in your life, so don't worry about them. They don't exist.
Yeah, but I know what he's trying to say and what he means, but then again, it does affect you. You can't quite help it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think, oh no, the people are going to get into this one next. I mean, I was right about COVID, wasn't I? So,
You were, yes.
But Amy, shall we listen to the next bit and we'll talk at the end?
Okay, Karen.
And so while Liz Truss's version of neoliberalism, these massive unfunded tax cuts, might have been thrown out, the broader structure of neoliberalism, that we demote democracy and put money in their place, that in many ways has been reinforced. The situation we find ourselves in is that the bankers, the financiers, the unelected technocrats have even more power over our lives than they did before. And none of us put them there. None of us consented to this. I see this country as a democracy in name only. We have the structures of democracy, houses of parliament, general elections, but power has been shifted out of those structures and into places where the people can't reach it. Offshore tribunals and indeed offshore capital. It's been shifted into sofa cabinets and decisions made behind closed doors. It's been shifted into a place where we can't choose who the Prime Minister is or have any say at all over their policies until the next election, whereupon our choice is basically reduced to the lesser of two evils. This is a democracy in the weakest and thinnest possible sense of what a democracy might be. I think it's fair to say that three people, none of whom are domiciled in the UK for tax purposes, Rupert Murdoch, Lord Harmsworth and Frederick Berkeley, exercise more sway over this government's decisions than the 67 million people who live here. And through their newspapers, the Daily Mail, the Sun and the Times, the Telegraph, those proprietors, those offshore oligarchs, are more powerful than the entire population of this country. Keir Starmer has done more or less what Tony Blair did, which is to launch a great charm offensive towards the billionaire press and big business in order to try to win them over. And there's a cost to that. The cost is that he can't pursue the policies that the electorate might want, because those policies are directly at odds with what the billionaires want. You can't serve both masters. Either you are on the side of the billionaires or you're on the side of the people. And if you're on the side of the billionaires, you have to be against the people. I understand that Starmer wants to get elected. And I understand that in this country, which is so dominated by elite concerns, it's very hard to be elected if you don't have the billionaire press on your side. But if you get elected by sucking up to the billionaire press and giving it everything it wants, then you become barely distinguishable from your opponents. We urgently need a general election. It's ridiculous that we've had 2 prime ministers now foisted upon us, each with their own policies, without any say for the people whatsoever. But a general election is not enough. It can't end there. We also desperately need a massively revamped political system. We need proportional representation. We need devolution of power to the lowest possible level so that people have as much say over their own lives as they can. We need our representative democracy tempered with participatory, deliberative democracy so that we can be far more involved in fine-grained decision-making. We need to break up the power of the billionaire press. We need to dethrone the oligarchs who have come to control this country. We need to rethink who we are and where we stand. So how do we get this, given that Keir Starmer is hostile to almost that entire agenda? Well, the key change, I think, is proportional representation. Because
Yes, proportional representation, because he wants to be in the same system, the Roman Empire, but when you don't, then all that is out the window, the whole lot. I don't know what we put in its place, but we don't want any of what we don't want to be in it, to partake in it and try and win it.
You're right, and I don't know how we get out of it, and he was talking about the press, and I think that the corporations control the press.
Yeah, make me some news, please. Make me the news. And how do we just say for instance, they've used their, like they're telling us one's Liberal, one's Labour, one's Conservative. But then you're only ever going. So say it's the Labour Party that's bought some newspapers, and you're only ever going to get the Labour. We want free press, not bought press. The same with the Conservatives. If they bought everything, but we know that it's even worse than that. It's so that we don't have a voice.
Exactly.
We need to be little minions and just look. Oh, look, great! This is happening. Well, they're taking my house next week. Oh, it's great.
Yes, that's how they want everybody to be.
Do you know what? The pound is so bad because, like we were saying, Claudio, he said, well, it's not in your life, it doesn't exist, and he's right. So that when you look at all this, I'm like, oh, Amy, I'm having heart flutters. I can't cope with it. It's just so ugly.
Oh, I know. It's
Listen
really
to what
hard.
he's explained. He's only creamed the top of it and even the extra bits because we stopped it. It goes on for another couple of minutes where he's saying we're a different way, but you're not if you just want to be in the same system. But I just...
Yeah, because the system isn't what we think it is. We think it's the
democracy.
We
think it's run on democracy, and it's not. It's run. Who do you reckon owns? Is it that the politicians own the corporations or the corporate? Because obviously what he's saying is, they get into bed with them and then they start, the corporations go, we want, and then they... it's true because they get little businesses and things, or they get shares in these corporations. That's what happens.
Yeah, it's probably, I think maybe the corporations own the politicians, because I think with the banking, that's how it all started.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, it's hard to say which came first, the chicken or the egg.
He says you cannot go, you either stay with the rich or you go with the poor. And the thing is that they were elected for us, not for them.
Right.
They all need to be kicked off cliffs. We need to get rid of all of them. We've got so materialistic. That's what I'm saying there. SHITTING all the time. So they've ordered from us and then ordered from us. And but my son did say though that the gas and electricity prices are going down. Well, that would be brilliant if they did.
Good then.
We need petrol to go down. We need everything to go down. But also, Amy, hang on a second. Yeah, he brings up this whole thing about Rishi being really rich.
Yeah.
And his wife's really rich, and she didn't pay any taxes in this country. You just think, for God's sake. But This is ridiculous. How can you have such a rich man running the people? He's got no idea. Let's have his money. He'd be able to save the world on their money.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to say. People are looking for a hero. They're still looking for somebody to, like, save them from all this. Like, we know that this system isn't working, but people just get it in their head if they could get the right president or the right prime minister, that everything is going to turn around.
And it won't.
Yeah, and then they don't mind if somebody has a lot of money. Like, you don't say, well, look at him, he's a millionaire, and he doesn't know the problems that we have. But, I mean, when you think about it, like, it's kind of hard to identify with people that are so much, like, richer than you. Not because I never cared about that kind of thing. So, like, when they say Trump or anybody or Rishi Sunak has got all this money, I don't get all bent out of shape. But I think that we're just what I'm trying to say, we're too hero worshipful of these people. We want a leader too. I don't think the people want to realize that we can't have this system anymore. It's like they want somebody to rule them.
And that's the other bit. He, in this video, he's also going on about, you know, that he's been selected, not elected. But he doesn't get it. That's exactly. It doesn't matter whether we had they probably thought, if we put him in this way, we can save millions on an election.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're selected. So even when you have an election, you think you voted for the person, but they were selected anyway.
Amy, when I did Boris outside 10 Downing Street, what did he look like?
Oh yeah, he was all tiny. He was real tiny, and everything else was real big. The cameras, and Boris was a little tiny.
Why would you make the Prime Minister so tiny?
Yeah, probably trying to show that he doesn't really have much authority.
Well, they did the same to Rishi. And what I noticed was, it was where I zoomed in a bit, the background's morphing forward and morphing forward and back and forward, because I was moving the film backwards and forwards, and you could see that it's like a stage, an act. Right, we can move them across a bit, move them back. This is how they do it. It's all a computer. None of it's real.
Yeah. Oh, I know. That's another thing.
But they did that with him, with Rishi. They made him small as well. But anyway, I do appreciate this person at least saying that stuff, that he's noticed that there's something very wrong. Well done. That's brilliant. Yeah. And more people need to stand up and realise, you know, everybody. But I think there's loads of us, but no one's prepared to stand up because they don't want to be any different than the neighbour, sort of thing.
Exactly.
But, you know, I put myself out there, and that's the way it is, really.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, YouTube's not trying to kill me.
Oh, I
know. They're seriously demolishing Unscrambled, and they've done things to Sun and Moon Channel. They just have.
Oh, well, we
need more subs, Amy.
Yes, we won't let them demolish.
Everybody who's not subbed, sub.
Yes, please subscribe.
Yeah.
Like it.
But you know what? They probably did, and they've been unsubscribed, because that's what YouTube likes doing. It's got so many glitches and so many, you know, like they can cover themselves with anything. It just sounds like because they're one of the corporations.
Exactly, yes.
But you know, as much as I like what this guy said, sorry, George, they've got to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't vote. But I if I say to people, do you vote? They go, no, I don't vote. It's like nobody votes. I'm thinking, how the hell do they get in?
Exactly, a lot of people don't.
Yeah, but more than they think. So, with an 80-seat majority, it's probably like one with 80 votes.
Yeah, that's right.
Anything else you want to say, Amy?
Oh, well, it was a very interesting video that you found, and I think the gentleman has the right spirit about, you know, that it's not right what they're doing, but we don't really have the right answers as to what to do, but we just know that it's something wrong.
And we don't want it.
We don't want it, that's
anymore.
right. anymore. That's right.
Thanks for that, Amy. Thanks very much for helping me do this video.
Oh, you're welcome, Karen.
Big hugs, Amy, and chat room.
Big hugs.